Egoscue helps me overcome decades of bad posture and the residual effects of that, which were significant and unknown to me until I started having better posture. Some people are just generally a little bit more open to new things than others. If you are, that's going to be a faster journey for you. My experience with other sort of non-traditional things, functional medicine, other things, is that if it's something that you've needed for a long time, once you start doing it, your body responds really quickly because it knows that this is what you've been needing. And that reward comes fast. And that in and of itself is like the best motivation to keep going. The good part about mindset is that if you can get yourself in to it, even just a couple of weeks, you're going to start seeing results, and that becomes rewarding in and of itself. So it's like you get into it, you start seeing things feel better, you start seeing things loosen up, and you're like, oh yeah, this is working. And then you want to keep doing it, and then you want to keep showing up. And I wanted more flexibility, I wanted more range of motion than I had, I wanted to look a little better in profile, I wanted to stand up a little taller, but everything I knew how to do wasn't getting me there, and I wasn't sure how to go about it. So Egoscue was recommended to me by the chiropractor that I see. She was familiar with Egoscue. She'd seen what my posture looked like. She would see how all the tension that I had, and she said to me, she said, have you ever heard of Egoscue? Well, like a lot of people, I have a job that's really tied to either sitting in meetings or being on the computer. And so I spent a lot of my life sitting, a lot of my life with technology. I felt that in my body. I felt that tightness. I would feel how my shoulders would round. I would feel how my neck would get stiff. I would, low back would be a little tight, things like this. My hip flexors were just like practically immobile. Even when I look at myself in the mirror, I'd see myself in profile, and I'd notice that my shoulders would slump forward a little bit. And my dad had some of the same issues. As he got older, he would get more and more sloped over, and so I would see that in the mirror, and I'm like, oh, I hope I'm not headed the way that my dad is going. I was almost immediately comfortable with Sam, and I think it started because the two things that really jump out when you first meet Sam, and they continue to be kind of the predominant components of how we work together, is she is amazingly detail oriented in terms of she can see things in your movement, see things in your posture that you don't see yourself. So she can look at you, and she knows just by looking at you, watching you move, seeing what's happening, what you might be experiencing. And then you couple that with she's really good at asking questions and listening to what you say. And so between what she sees and what she hears, she's able to translate that into the therapy that she does. It's pretty common for me to say, yeah, and I noticed this one thing happened this last week. She'd be like, thank you for telling me that, because that means that X, Y, and Z is happening. So this whole theme of getting at the root cause, don't just keep treating the symptom over and over again, get to the root cause and fix that is huge. So part of the reason why I was having so many problems with my mid-back is that my hips were pushed so far forward. And so I came up with this metaphor that I use with Sam a lot, and she's now picked it up. She said, I started thinking about my spine like a stack of pancakes. And if the plate that the pancakes is standing on is tilted, that stack of pancakes is going to move around too. And so I started thinking about sort of the connections differently. And so it's like, so you can't necessarily say, okay, that part of my back sticks out, so push it in. The better question is, why is that part of your back sticking out? And the answer is that it didn't have a solid aligned base that it was sitting on. I needed to do that work. So the whole idea of, a shoulder problem being about your shoulder, maybe, but it might have to do with something else. The problem over here might have something to do with something over here. I was out hiking, and at one point I was feeling a little tightness in my mid back, and so I just stopped and I just threw my hands over my head, looked up, held it for maybe 15 or 20 seconds, and off I went. It was good. And I would not think about making my back feel better by pulling my arms over my head. The phrase I've been hearing a lot recently is not just your lifespan, but your health span. You want your life to be as long as you can, but you also want that life to be as healthy and as full of quality as you can. And more I hear about the things that really degrade the quality of life faster than anything is when you lose your mobility. When you start losing muscle mass, when you start losing your ability to get up and get down, to walk the way that you want, to do the activities that you want. And so something like this, something like Egoscue, can really help you in that area of functional mobility. Don't settle. That's not destiny. That is not how life should be at this point in time. There are opportunities to feel significantly better, and don't give that up. Don't let that go. Don't just assume that goes away because you're over 40 or you're over 50. I mean, there are options.